Max, how much do you know about Scott Pilgrim?
That's a good question. I know of Scott Pilgrim. I love the movie. Never read the graphic novel and started the TV show, but we lost Netflix because we couldn't use the Netflix account of my sister-in-law for a while. So yeah, I'd say I'm 50% up to date with the franchise.
How many of the episodes of Scott Pilgrim did you watch? Because that's what I want to talk about first thing here.
I think I watched the first 4
Okay, so you got most.
episodes.
There were 6 or 8. I think 8. I think it was 8 episodes.
I watched it. I watched about half of it. Yeah.
Okay. What'd you think of it?
Yeah. I thought it was pretty fun and kind of surprising because it's the same cast from the movie, so it's very familiar. But at the same time, there's a lot of different not options, but they did a lot of things differently from the movie. So I was expecting something a little bit more familiar, but it was kind of brand new to me. So I thought it was good and it was really interesting, and I love the animation. It looks really fun.
Oh, it looks amazing. It's like the comic book came to life. And I'm a big fan of that comic. I read it back in the early 2000s when I was in high school. It's great. I still enjoy it. I love that movie. I thought it was fantastic. And I think Netflix really didn't market this show correctly because they made it seem like this was just going to be an animated version of that same story again. It is so totally not that.
Exactly.
It's a complete retelling where it starts off where it's basically the same, and you get to that original first fight with one of Ramona's seven evil exes, Matthew Patel, and then Scott gets like disappeared from the world, and then the rest of the story is Ramona trying to go around and talk to all of her evil exes and try and find out what happened to Scott.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so good. Like I watched the first episode. I was like, okay, this is good. Like it's basically exactly what I was expecting. But then Scott gets teleported away. I was curious about it, and then I continued watching, and then I just couldn't stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like it was so good, and I don't know if I want to give away how it ends, but that final episode, so good. It was so good. The big reveal of what happened to Scott is absolutely fantastic.
Oh, you got me intrigued now. I have Netflix back, so I should absolutely finish that.
Yeah, it's 100% worth watching. So I watched this because I finished watching all of the rest of EFO, and then I watched this, and it was a good time. This is a really, really good time. Everybody should go and watch Scott Pilgrim Takes Off because it is so much more than the same story again. And that's great. And I wish I like I said, I think they marketed it poorly in that it looked like it was going to be the same story again.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. And that's what you thought too. So, yeah, it's pretty telling that you're not going to get the same hype from like a remake than if it's something new.
But
you've read the graphic novel, the comic, and so that comic was much closer to the movie.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. The comic is basically the same story as the movie. I mean, there's some minor differences here and there, just because they're compressing down 6 volumes of a graphic novel. They're like 200 pages each or something like that into a hour and 40-minute movie. So obviously some cuts had to be made, and like the general story and the main beats are basically the same.
Oh man, that's interesting. Like while I was watching like those differences at the start of the Netflix show, I didn't go and check out if it was stuff that was from the comic or if it was new stuff. Like, I kind of assume it was something that the story would like revert back to the movie. No, I'm now way more intrigued than I was.
So I wanted to double check and make sure that I got his name right, but I had seen an interview after I finished watching it. So the creator's name is Brian Lee O'Malley, and he basically said in this interview that making the same story again would have felt like death. So that's why he changed it up so much, which, like, I can understand. You don't want to tell the same story that you've already told twice 20 years ago.
Like even 3 times with the game.
Oh yeah, I don't know how much he was involved with the game.
Yeah, true.
But that game is really good. Like, that game looks like the comic come to life.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, we already have 3 versions of that story, even if he wasn't involved. Well, that's cool. I'm gonna take a note of that. I'm gonna probably finish Dragon Ball and then give this a go.
Nice. Yeah, I started watching another sports anime after I got done with this. We'll get into that at a later point in time. But we're here to talk about video games. And this is the Trashstation podcast. Your podcast all about weird, unknown, and forgotten video games. I'm your host, Chris, and I'm here with Max. How are you, Max?
I'm doing pretty great, thanks. And in our friend circles, we're known to play mostly trashy games. We're talking anime games, retro games you've never heard of, the indie stuff on itch.io, and everything in between.
As usual, we'll add those games to our tier list we call the Landfill, chat about our creative hobbies, and shout out some of our favorite content creators on the internet.
Absolutely. But before we do that, I have been invited on another podcast last weekend. So I've recorded with the folks at Kindle Across the Sea, the podcast all about Dark Souls. So I've joined Johnny and Brian to talk about the what happens after you ring the first bell in Dark Souls. So all about the options and the route you take when you go through the Darkwood Garden. That was pretty cool. And no, I have not forgotten Vyar. The good old Klaus, he was sick, so I took his place for that episode. So only one weird accent per episode. I think that's the rule.
I mean, having a German and a Frenchman in the same episode, I mean, that's just all the accents at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. But when this episode releases, I think the Kindle Across the Sea episode won't be released yet, but it's coming very soon. I know that Johnny is doing some editing this weekend, so maybe it will release at the same time, but it should be around pretty soon. We're gonna share that, and it was really fun. Like 2 months ago, I knew nothing about Dark Souls, and now I'm on the podcast talking about one part of Dark Souls for like 2 hours. So,
did you talk about on that podcast like how it was being a new player to like that style of game?
Not really. A little bit at the end, but no. I mostly I did share a couple of my experiences. So a couple of those situations, I did touch upon how I tackled it being a new player and how it felt, but we didn't do a big discussion about that specifically.
Okay, excellent. I look forward to hearing that.
Yeah. You'll tell me. I thought it was pretty cool. And it's fun that I can now talk about this game so passionately.
Right. It's a good game, yeah. Turns out people like it for a reason.
Yeah. Somehow, good games are good. I never knew. It's my 2024 and 2025 revelation after having so much good time with The Last of Us and Dark Souls and all of that. So yeah. I'm starting to understand that good games exist for a reason.
Yeah, they sure do. Sometimes the AAA games they're worth the hype.
Yep, but that's not what I'm bringing to the show today. Absolutely not.
No, neither am I. Neither am I at all.
Do you want to start? I think you have a couple of updates from last episode. Do you want to start with that?
Yeah. So I last episode I talked about Thief Simulator, And when I was editing the last episode, I felt like I was maybe a little bit harsh on that game by calling it an asset flip.
Yep.
Because I think that term has like a really negative connotation attached to it, and I don't want to attach that negative connotation to this game. And I don't think I realized that at the time that I was talking about that, but it sort of came across in the episode when I was listening back to it. But I wanted to touch on it again because I finished the main campaign of that game, and I also bought one of the DLCs, and I played all the way through the DLC also. And there's a whole nother DLC for me to buy as well, and I just didn't spend the $7 on it because I didn't feel like I'll wait for it to go on sale for like $4 or something, and then I'll buy it and come back into this.
Yep.
But I still think a lot of this game, like, it is made by a really small team. So when I said that it was an asset flip, what I really mean is that like they just bought assets from the Unity store or whatever to help with making the game with a small team so that they didn't have to craft every little bit of it themselves. But the game does feel unique in its play style.
Yeah, when we like additionally, like at its core, an asset flip is more than just buying some like 3D models. It's all about also buying the gameplay. Often you can buy like pinball machine, change a couple textures, and call it a new machine. Even though all you did is just change the look of the machine, it took you 3 hours. Sure, they bought a lot of models, so it can visually look a bit generic, but they crafted their own game through those models.
100%. The DLC that I bought it's called the Luxury Houses DLC, and it gives you access to a whole nother sandbox area, and it has 4 like absolute mansions within this property, and you're doing the same thing. You have missions that you're trying to accomplish. So certain things that you need to steal or plant in each of these houses. So like some of them are just like, oh, steal this car from this house, steal this painting from this house, steal whatever from this house, and then take it back and sell it. And like I found this DLC actually pretty easy in comparison to the late game of Thief Simulator, because the properties were so big. But the amount of NPCs that were on the property was like capped out at 5 or 6. But the properties were so large and the houses were so large. I mean, like, we're talking 3-story mansions with like, 2 side buildings. There's a garage and like a secondary office attached on the property. Like, and all of the NPCs would be spread out in all these different places on the property. So it was really easy, like even in the daylight where it's easier to be seen, to be able to sneak in without being noticed and just steal a bunch of shit and then get back out. So I really enjoyed it. It added like another 10 hours of gameplay onto the game. And there's still more that I could do.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So it's Thief Simulator continues to be a hell of a lot of fun. So I still highly recommend it. I still think it deserves to be an absolute bangers. It's 100% one of my favorite games I've played this year. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I have an update also for Castlevania Lords of Shadow. I've been playing that some more, and I think I'm about halfway through it. I got to the start of chapter 6 of 12. And I think everything I said about it before still holds true. Like the general gameplay mechanics of it being like a God of War clone, still really good. I don't remember if I talked about this mechanic specifically when I talked about it last time, but there's this magic system where you have 2 different types of magic that you can use. One type of magic, when you activate it and you are attacking enemies, it heals your health. And then the other type of magic, when you activate it, it deals additional damage. And so it's this balance and give and take, what magic you need to use at what point in time. And I think that's really, really cool. But the farther I go into this game, the more like special abilities that they give me. But these special abilities are like almost kind of similar. and could have probably been combined into just one ability instead of being two separate abilities. And my core example of this is I got like this super punch that allows me to like punch enemies really hard or push blocks or like break through walls. And I thought that was really cool. But then in the next level after that, so like that was in like world or level 3, and then in I think it was level 4. I get this ability where like I charge up and then I do this fast dash forward, and that's used for breaking down doors. It's like, why can't I just punch the door? Like, you already gave me the ability to break things. Why can't I just use that ability to break the door? But no, it wants you to use that other specific ability. So I think there's a little bit of bloat there. There's also these really fucking annoying enemies. They call them chupacabras. They're basically like these little tiny wizard guys. They're like 2 feet tall, and they like laugh at you. And what they do is they steal your ability to use magic. And that means that you can't progress forward until you find them. And they go and hide somewhere in the level. And then it's like playing a game of hide and seek with them. You're trying to find where they are because they're not necessarily, they like teleport away and they disappear. And while they're like away, periodically, I'm going to get to another point about this in a second, but about once a minute, you'll hear the voice of them. They'll be like, oh, you're getting warmer, or oh no, you're too far away, but like in this really shrill, high-pitched voice. And it's really annoying. And just the whole taking away your abilities just to go and chase down this guy that is not even like a combat encounter. It's just like I have to jump across a thing to get to the guy, and then that's it. It's another thing where it just adds bloat to the game, and it's kind of annoying.
Yeah. That's so the whole pace breaker.
Yeah. It definitely breaks the pace. I have another complaint. In the second level of this game, I ended up meeting this woman, and she's like a telepath. And as I'm following her around this level or through the several like individual stages within level 2, one of the stages, she was like talking to me telepathically, telling me I had to find these crystals. But the stage is pretty large and there's a lot of combat encounters within the stage. But like once a minute, she's popping up with her telepathic voice. Oh, you have to go find the crystals. There's still 3 crystals left to find. You have to go find the crystals. And I'm like, bitch, I know there's crystals left to find. I'm fighting like 10 fucking goblins right now. Shut up. And so it got really annoying. Thankfully she's dead now, so I don't have to hear her anymore.
You killed her, or
it's ambiguous. You get this like cut scene where your main character, whatever Belmont you're playing as, I don't remember his name, he like is having a dream, and in the dream he stabs her in the chest with a knife, and then he wakes up and she has been stabbed in the chest with a knife, but you're not really sure if it's actually you that did it or if it's like one of the Lords of Shadow like playing a trick on you and they killed her but are like trying to force you to think that you did to like break your conviction or whatever. But so I don't care. I didn't have any connection to her. Like I met her and then she died, 30 minutes later.
You met her, she annoyed you for a while and she died.
Yeah. And I'm glad she's dead. Well,
that's on the relief.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe she'll come back as one of the Lords of Shadow, or as like the bride of one of the Lords of Shadow later in the game. Like at the end of, oh god, what's that game? Dante's Inferno. You have to fight like the devil with Dante's wife, and it's like, oh, the woman that I've been chasing after this entire time is now like sided with the devil, and like, if you know anything about that story, then like, yeah, that's what fucking happens. But man, that's a fun game. That's a really fun game. Dante's Inferno is a better game than Castlevania, Lords of Shadow, I think. It's a much tighter experience. Castlevania I feel like it's starting to drag a little bit at this point. Like I said, I'm at level 6 of 12, and thankfully thankfully, a couple of the levels, like level 3 and level 4, only had 2 stages a piece. So it was just like one exploration stage and then a boss fight, and then one exploration stage and then a boss fight. But then like level 5, I'm nearing the end of level 5, so I'm not quite at level 6, but I think I have one level left to play. In level 5 was like 7 stages long. And if more of these later levels are shorter, I will be happy about that.
Yeah. There's just so much button mashing you can do before it gets boring.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm unlocking new combos as I'm playing through, but maybe it's because I'm playing on easy, but they don't really feel impactful. It's not like Devil May Cry where, when you unlock new combos, they will generally help you with fighting specific types of enemies. It does not feel like any of the additional combos like add anything of significance to my move set to help me fight specific types of mobs.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I get you.
I don't remember where I put this game last time, but I think this game is going to live in. This is fine for me for now. And I unless it ends really strong, that's probably where it's going to live for the rest of its life.
Some games are just fine.
Mm-hmm.
You did put it in great games last time, so
Okay. So that was a lot harder.
Maybe
I'm cooling on.
Yeah, it was a stronger start.
Yeah, and it does start really strong. Like I do enjoy this style of game. I think there's some little annoyances that this game has.
Yeah.
All right, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, let's see which none of those games really transitions well from Castlevania. So let's just go alphabetically. So the first game that I brought to the list is called Alphaputt. It's a mobile game that I've been playing on my phone, and if you had to take a wild guess from that title, what do you think this game is?
Is it mini golf?
It is mini golf. And why is it called Alphaputt?
But does it have something to do with the alphabet, or is it like a crossword mini game?
Oh no, that would have been cool. But no, basically, you play all the levels are shaped like letters from the alphabet, and you can either write any word and play like a course on the letters from that word. So I could play on a level called Trashstation and play that single player against a friend, and we would play each letters one after the other, and that would be a round of mini pot. But like the main challenge of the game is going through what they call perfection, where you have to beat every letter of the alphabet one after the other with the least throw possible. That's mini golf. That's
right.
Didn't reinvent the wheel. But so the first time that you go through it, you have unlimited strokes per letter. So you just have to go through each letter. And once you've done that, then you can try it again. But now you cannot go over par for every level. So some levels have a par of 3, some are 2, some are 1. But it gets really difficult because there's a bunch of levels where you have moving parts and the timing is pretty precise. There's one that's like Wipeout. You know the balls in Wipeout? Not Wipeout the video game, but Wipeout the TV show, where they have to run on red things above the water.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So there's one level like that. So you just have to take a guess. There's so many moving parts. There are balls moving around. There's hammers, and you just have to send it and try to get to the hole without getting knocked out from the course. So some of those levels are a bit random, but the real gimmick of that game is that every level has a trick that you can figure out to beat the level in a single stroke. Like if I were to go 100% in this game, I would have to do perfection and get that single stroke on every level without any mistakes. I have to beat those 26 levels in 26 strokes. So far, I would say that I have figured out like at least half of those levels pretty consistently. But like I said, like the O level, whereas there's a bunch of stuff moving around, they're just so fucking random. I don't believe like going through this being there and missing your shot because there's no way to get the timing on this. But yeah, it's mini golf. I like the single stroke gimmick. I like the second level, the B level. It's a basketball team level, and the middle of the B's, the middles of the B are bouncy. So you can that puzzle of that level was figuring out the right angle and the right force to go into the B's and jump first hole, second hole, and then end up in the hole at the end. So like going through that process and figuring out those levels where there's actually a solution is pretty fun. And so far I've managed to beat the game with under par score. But yeah, I'm still itching away. I would like to get like there's other tiers. So before the perfection tier where it's only 26 strokes, there's other tiers that you can unlock. And I would like to unlock at least one more before calling this a beat. And yeah, I've been playing that. I've started my new work last week. So I've been playing that in the bus when I go to work and come back from work. And it's been a lot of fun. I don't know if you have an iPhone or an Android. No, yeah.
Android.
The iPhone App Store is garbage. It's like the Netflix of app stores. You cannot find anything on there. It's all prepackaged categories with only the most popular games for every category. So like if you want to find Balatro, it's really easy. You want to find Pokemon, it's really easy. But if you want to find like those hidden gems in the game,
weird stuff.
It's absolutely impossible. You have to know what you're looking for. And I found an app called App Raven where you can search a lot of stuff. There are people making their own recommended list by genre. So that's where I found Alphaputt, and I would really recommend it. It's been really fun. And do you have any questions before I put it on tier list?
My only question is, are the letters of the alphabet in capital letters or lowercase letters?
Oh, they're all capital letters, but they are all themed around a word that starts with that letter. So visually, the game it starts like isometric, but you can turn around because it's in 3D, so you can adjust your angle if it helps you in any level. And like the first level is based around the airport theme. So it's like a starting lane. It's like an airport lane where the lanes go off, and it's basically like two lanes, and you have to go at the other end and just bounce back to the other side of the A and end up in the hole. The second one is basketball. So like I said, you have the bouncy stuff. And there are a couple of cool levels. Like the Q one is Quest, and it's like a medieval castle, and you have to do a precise jump and get like a key to unlock a cage that's over the hole. So every level has like that kind of theming around a word that starts with those letters, and that gives it a lot of variety. So that's also pretty cool. Yeah.
Cool. So what are you putting it on the tier list?
I think I would put it in great game.
Awesome.
It's I've played a couple Minipot games on my phone because I love Minipot, but I think this is probably the best mobile game Minipot that I've found so far. It's simple enough. There's kind of that puzzle element, and trying to beat all those levels with a single stroke has been really fun. The teaming is great. It sounds great. It's just really satisfying to play. What would be missing? So I would put it in absolute bangers. I think that 100% requirement of beating all those 26 levels in a row in a single stroke is almost impossible. Unless I've managed to really figure out some of those levels that feels random, it just feels impossible. It's so many levels. Like learning 26 levels in a row and being perfect, that's too much. And in the end, it's only like 26 levels of mini pots. I think the game could have had a little more levels. I think I could have liked more levels and like different versions, maybe with lowercase letters and some numbers. I think that idea execution is really, really good. A bit more content and a little bit more lenient.
They could have done them in cursive too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Or maybe combinations of letters like TH, CH, a couple of stuff like that. I think it's a great base. It's really fun. I would have taken even more.
It is apparently not on the Google Play Store. So
looks
like a
shame.
iPhone.
Yeah. It's a shame because it's been really good.
Yeah, I was interested. That's why I went and looked while we were talking. But all right. You good?
Yeah. I went on the Alphaputt website and my screen went black for a couple seconds.
Okay. I just want to make sure that like something didn't happen to the recording or something. So
no, everything else sounds fine.
Okay,
and I'm
all right,
cool. So that's cool. Yep.
I would like to talk about a bad video game.
Okay.
Let's talk about Garfield Caught in the Act.
Okay.
So this is a Sega Genesis Garfield game. It is a 2D platformer, and it is not fun.
No.
Essentially, what this game is Garfield gets sucked into a TV, and you're playing through like several movie themed levels. Like there's an Egyptian themed level and the haunted house level, and blah blah blah. There's like 6 levels.
That's exactly the same plot as Gex.
Yeah.
Just saying. So I'm pretty. Yeah, it's pretty weird that you didn't like the Garfield version of that.
Well, Garfield is not wisecracking the entire time that he's talking. It's not tail time with Garfield, right?
All right.
It's fucking lasagna time and being lazy and hating Mondays. True. And man, this game so first of all, the movement is very slippery. It's like you have momentum, and you don't stop easily, which makes it kind of difficult to platform. And like the platforming jumps aren't difficult or anything, but you get like that kind of Bubsy thing where you start moving a little bit too fast and you can't really see what's coming up in front of you. And then like an enemy suddenly appears and then you get hit because of it. And you do have a health bar, so it's not as bad as Bubsy. So that's good. But you have a melee attack, you have a thrown attack, which whatever you're throwing changes depending on what level you're currently playing. And you pick up those collectibles as you go through the level and then you have a limited supply of them. It just doesn't feel good to play. Like I said, it's slippery. The jump is kind of floaty. Like It never feels precise. And then the bosses, you play through each of the levels, you get to a boss fight at the end. The levels are pretty linear. I mean, there's a little bit of like, oh, you can like go down here instead or up here instead, but it's not like they're pretty linear. It's not like a Sonic level where there's like the top row, the middle row, and the bottom row where you can choose which path. It's much simpler than that.
Okay.
And it's just, and you get to the boss fights and they're either like so annoying that you can't figure out what you're supposed to do to beat them, or they're so easy that you beat them without taking damage. And I didn't find a boss that was like anywhere in between. Like there was not a boss where I understood what I needed to do, but I was being challenged by it. Except for maybe the last boss. That one was actually a little bit tough. But yeah, this game's just not fun, man. It's just not. Like, it looks like a Garfield comic, so I guess if you want a 16-bit Garfield game, like, you can look at it a little bit, but probably don't spend a lot of money on this, or just play it on emulation or something, because it's not very good.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of like Genesis platformers. It often I don't know. They often feel like that. They look good, they look pretty, but gameplay wise, it's just not there.
Yeah. So we're throwing Garfield back in the trash. Get that fucking guy out of here.
Let's go. Finally, some trash action.
Yeah.
And you finished it, right?
Yeah, I finished it.
Yeah. Okay.
I used save states to finish it. I won't lie about that. I was not going to replay level 1 5 times to learn this game. Fuck that.
No. It's not worth it.
Oh,
What better use of your time?
yeah. Using save states, I mean, it maybe took me, I don't know, somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour to get through it. It's not a very long game. If I didn't use save states, that would have been like 3 hours out of my day, maybe 4. And that's just, I got better games to play, man. I couldn't spend my time on Garfield any longer.
All right. And you played that because of the bingo, right? Because of the local bingo, yeah. I'm gonna find a better Garfield game.
Oh, I'm sure there is one. Like that kart racer is actually supposed to be decent. I just didn't want to have to buy a Garfield game that I was probably gonna hate. And I haven't ever tried for the Genesis, so I was like, well, I might as well just play this one and get it over with.
Yeah. I think there are a couple Garfield like games on itch.io and stuff, or maybe Flash games. So that's probably where I'm gonna turn into.
Yeah,
play something weird.
Yeah. All right, what you got for us next?
Yeah, I'm gonna do two short ones.
Cool.
So last time you brought Batography to the show, and I said, I didn't do it for the podcast and stuff because it felt like way too short and everything. But I didn't put it on my bingo sheet, but I did take the time to play through it since it was free and everyone did take a stab at it. And man, I wasn't impressed. Like, I knew it was short, but the game it's barely a game. You walk left, you walk right, and the game's done. It takes...
Damn.
Yeah, I know. So, I don't have much to say. Like, I was expecting some kind of game, but, like, there's, like, 3 puzzles, and all the puzzles are just go talk to that other person or look down at the grass.
Right. So, do you see what I mean though? That like the concept, like they could be interesting if it was expanded on into like a 2-hour long game. Like exactly. Taking photos of a specific location to bring back as a like key to a puzzle is an interesting idea.
Yeah. The concept, that's what's a bit of a shame. The concept is good. The game looks fantastic, but it's just a proof of concept. But there's something there. There's something really interesting. Like you said, if if the world was bigger and you really had to find those spots of interesting stuff to photograph,
Like if
you had
if
to,
getting past this gate was just the tutorial,
yeah,
and then there was the rest of the game outside of it, like I would be so much more impressed with it, and that's why I put it this is fine last time,
yeah.
because like I do think it's an interesting idea, and I'm not gonna judge it too harshly for being a free game jam game.
No, I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna put it in this is fine. But I'd still put an asterisk. Like the game released on Steam. Like the guy spent $100 to put this 5-minute, 10-minute games on Steam, and I feel like it should have just stayed on itch. Like that Steam mental barrier just makes it feel like it doesn't make it feel like a game jam game once since it's on Steam. So I think my own expectations made me realize, yeah, it just felt weird. It just felt weird.
I wonder if he put it on Steam as a way to like have a free game available so that people can kind of see what the studio is trying to do, like in terms of just general feel and concept. So that when they release other games that do cost money, there's, something there where people can try something from the studio before buying something from the studio.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like for now,
I mean, I don't know.
It's just that. Yeah, I think so. At the end of the game, there's a little teaser for the next game. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, but yeah, it was still cute. And I'm curious what they will do in the future because they have a style and they did it very well.
Yeah. So what's the other game you want to play?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about Baba Is Quiz. So the guy who made Baba Is You released another free game on its itch.io page, and this time it's not a block pusher. It's a quiz. It's a personality quiz where you answer some questions to know which Baba Is You character you are. And the game is fucking hilarious. It's just random shit from start to finish, but it's not just a quiz. In the middle of the game, you have some platformer levels to do. You also have secrets to find. There's multiple endings. It's only like 15 minutes if you do everything, but still, it's wild. It's wild that the guy just he can be clever, he can be great, and now he's even funny. And all of those games are just out there for free on the itch.io page. So, it's game as a game. This is fine. This also goes into this is fine. It's a funny time, especially if you know the Baba Is You franchise.
Right.
But yeah, it's just a wild experience. I wasn't expecting much. I wasn't expecting that I would call this a game at first because it's called Baba Is Quiz. Like it's just a quiz, but it's more than that. And I was impressed. I laughed. It's perfect. It's fine, but it's also perfect.
Okay.
It's perfect for what it is. Yeah.
All right. I love it. Another fine game.
Yeah, another fine game.
I want to talk about a game that I don't think is quite as fine also. This is Ashina the Red Witch. Have you heard of this game?
No, that's my first time saying those words.
Okay. So when I bought this game in like one of the Steam sales for, I don't know, like $2 or something like that. Some insignificant amount of money. It is normally on sale for $10. I just went to the Steam page to double check to see what it normally sells for. It's a top-down, like 8-bit looking adventure game.
Like
So
Zelda style or
well, I thought it was going to be like Zelda
okay.
from like the trailer and looking at screenshots and whatnot, and it looks like a Zelda game where like, you know, you're your little character and you're moving around in the world, but there's no combat in the game. It's just an adventure game. Which I was not expecting. And so the story has to do with like you play this girl named Ash, and you end up in like the Japanese spirit world, so it kind of feels a little bit like Spirited Away, and you're dealing with like all these kami and spirits and, you know, kappa and things like that. So it's very Japanese inspired, and like the pixel art looks great. The problem is that the gameplay. But I have two problems with this game. One, the gameplay is pretty boring. Like, it's just walking around and trying to find an item and then bring that item to another person so that they can tell you, oh, you know, go to talk to this person, and then you go and talk to that person. They're like, oh, well, I need this particular item. So then you have to go and wander around, try and find that item. And that's the extent of the gameplay, is just find an item, bring it to the person that needs the item, and do that over and over and over again. And the like level spaces that you're in aren't very large or anything, so it's not like hard to find these items normally. One of them in like the first area, I kind of had trouble finding where it was, and I was just missing a clue that one of the NPCs. And then once I realized by going back through and talking to everybody again, I realized that I had missed the thing where he was like, oh, check out this location, this abandoned house on the west side of town. And then I was able to find the last item that I needed and was able to get on. My other big problem with this game is that everyone just won't shut the fuck up. There is so much talking, so much dialogue, and most of it like just doesn't matter. It's like it's just there to pad out the time. Like, I know they're trying to present a world and a story, but I just don't care. And I've gone back to this game a couple of times, and like the last time I booted it up, I booted it up, I talked to like one person, and like I just felt my eyelids trying to close, and I was like, I can't fucking do this anymore. So I turned it back off, and I was like, I think I'm done with this. It's only supposed to be like 4 hours long. Which, like, that's a reasonable length for an adventure game. Like, if it was more fun to play, I would play 4 hours of this game because it does look nice. But I'm just not having a good time with it. I find it incredibly dull and very boring and not very fun to play. So, because it looks good, it's not going all the way into the trash. But it's almost going in the trash. So it is almost trash.
Yeah, it's almost like a clickbait game.
Almost, yeah. Like, if it had some Zelda combat in it, I would probably be a little bit more entertained. You know, even if I didn't have to fight enemies all the time, just something more than giving me a small location with 8 doors to explore. And then so
never stop talking.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of one of the puzzles in this game really quick. You go into, this is in the second area of the game, you're in this bathhouse, and you go and you talk to this one lady. She's like, oh, the guys in the next 4 rooms aren't in their correct rooms. They're not in the right order. And so in the next 3 rooms, there's one guy that's red, there's one guy that's white, and there's one guy that's yellow. And then you go into the 5th room, and that guy is blue, and he's like, the clue, he says something about like, oh, they're supposed to be in the same order as like this video game console over there. So you go and you look at the video game console, and you have the normal RCA connections of yellow, white, red. And so then you have to go and talk to the yellow guy, to the white guy, and then the red guy, and then go back and talk to the first person. And that's a puzzle in this game.
Oh yeah, that's that's baby's game first adventure game kind of puzzles.
Yeah, and that's the most complex puzzle I've run into.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
almost trash. I don't feel like talking about Ashina the Red Witch anymore. It's uninstalled from my PC and it will never be installed again.
All right. I have let's go with Jack and Jill 3D.
Cool.
And so that game is a sequel to Jack and Jill DX, which is a remake of Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill is it's become a franchise somehow. So I think it's like one dev or something, and he does little games where they're like auto runners, like Super Mario Run style.
Okay.
And the whole gist is that you're playing Jack and Jill, and you can either play as Jack or Jill, and they're like little blobs, and Jill has a red bow on her head. And each level you play as the character you chose, and they start running, and they never stop, and you can either bump into walls to go in the other direction, and you can jump. That's all you can do. And you need to reach the other character at the end of the level. That's all it is. So Jack and Jill DX were 2D games. If I'm not mistaken, Jack and Jill DX released on like everything a couple of years ago. It's like often only like $1 on Switch. And very recently they released Jack and Jill 3D, which is the same principle, but now you're playing on an isometric plane. The game I played it on my phone, and it's free. And it's 60 levels of running action puzzle kind of game. So most of the gameplay is that you start running, and then you have to jump over gaps at the right time. And then when you get at a corner, you can either press the button to turn. I see the button, but like the screen, it's a mobile game. So you press the screen to turn, but if you wait until you're at the edge of the corner, you can then skip the corner and jump on the other side. So the main gameplay is one part action where you have to jump over gaps and enemies at the right time, and part puzzles, because every level is kind of a maze, and often you will end up in a loop, and you actually have to find the right way to go over a corner and bump into a wall and go on the other direction to find your way around to go to the next checkpoint and then continue the level.
Okay.
The game is divided into 3 worlds. The first world is a basic grass kind of level. The second one is desert themed, and in that world you get introduced to like sticky enemies. So in those sections you cannot jump. You can only stop and start moving again. And in the last world is like a Halloween world. And now in that one, you get some switch. That's kind of a fun gimmick. So you have fog that will mask part of the level, and then you hit a switch to remove the fog, so you can actually see what's happening under the fog and continue the level. But if you know what the level is, you can just go through the fog. So any levels, I would just go into the fog and figure out what the layout of the terrain was under the fog, instead of doing the loop, hitting the button and coming back. And that was pretty cool. But at the same time, 60 levels is way too much for the amount of gameplay that this game has.
Sounds like it.
Oh, yeah. You're mostly doing the same thing over and over again, especially in the second world. Like the first world is kind of easy, so it's not that much trouble going through the first 20 levels. It's a bit boring even, but it's fine. The second level, it's so maze-like, and there's not a lot of new gimmicks in the second world. So it's just long. It gets really long, and I was not sure if I would go through everything because some of those levels, like the time between checkpoints. So if when you're figuring out the maze, it can take like over a minute to go to the next checkpoint. And if you die, you go back from the last checkpoint, and now you have to do all of that kind of boring auto runner puzzling stuff where you're just going around and you're just figuring out the layout, and you know what to do. You just have to jump at the right time at that point. So it gets a little boring. The last world was way better with the switch and the fog, and there's a new item that makes you go really fast. So those sections go way quicker, and the action part of the game is more involved than just jumping at the right time, because now you have to jump at the right time but really fast. So I think it grabbed me more in the last third. But still, I feel like the game should have only been like 45 levels long. Like 3 worlds of 10 or 15 levels would have been way better than 3 worlds of 20 levels.
Right.
But all in all, I would say it was a fine little platformer. Like I'm glad I played it. I thought it was fun enough, and figuring out those mazes was pretty cool. And I don't know, I had played Jack and Jill DX on the Switch like 2 years ago, and it's just cool seeing an indie dev making its own franchise and just going with the flow and making little games and somehow being part of that. I don't know. I think
while we were talking, I added Jack and Jill DX to my Steam wish list. So next time that goes on sale, I'm gonna pick it up on Steam.
Yeah, I have some extensions and can tell you. Yeah, so it was the cheapest it got was like $1 a couple like last year or something like that. I think it often gets discounted, but yeah, for a couple dollars, they're fine games. They're fine games, and I'm gonna put it in This Is Fine once again. It's just a little fun little platformer.
Cool. Yeah. It looks like it's $5 normally. Would you say that Jack and Jill DX is worth $5?
Maybe 5 is maybe it's maybe the limit. Like there's a lot of content, and if you like what you're saying, you're getting exactly that. So
right. I may end up just picking it up.
Yeah, I think it's just fine. I know that on Switch it had a couple of performance issues. Like I played it at my brother's, and because you get costumes that you can unlock, and if you change the color and put on some costumes, like the hats wouldn't follow my character and it would get a little glitchy. Oh yeah, and that's something that I didn't say. Like in Jack and Jill 3D, you can also get some costumes and stuff, but you can also get shaders. And one of the shaders pixelates the screen and made it look a lot like a Game Boy Advance game. And with the isometric view, which was kind of a thing, like making 3D platformers, but with the isometric view on the Game Boy Advance, it felt somehow nostalgic playing that game with that shader on. So that was pretty cool.
Cool. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
So I played a game that I want to tell a little story about this game. The game is called Get Tilted. And I found this game on Reddit, actually. And on the indie game subreddit, one of the devs had posted a trailer saying, full release of the game is up, and I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And so I tried the demo, which I am so glad that they had a demo for this game, because if they didn't, I don't know if I would have bought it, because this is not the style of game that I normally play. So I played the demo. I was like, okay, this is actually really cool. I am enjoying this. This will be fun to stream. So I went ahead and I bought it and I streamed, and I had said something to the dev on Reddit. And I was like, hey, because he had responded to somebody else's comment and was like, where they were like, oh, this looks fun, I'm gonna probably stream it. And he goes, oh, well, if you're gonna stream it, let me know. And so I responded to him and was like, hey, I'm gonna stream it this morning if you want to come and hang out. And he ended up coming and hanging out in my Twitch stream while I was playing through like the opening of the game. And
cool.
we were chatting about the game for a little while. So what this game is it's 3D precision platformer where you play as a flower pot.
Okay.
And essentially what you do is I was playing on with a controller, but you can't play with keyboard. I tried both. You tilt the flower pot, and depending on how tilted the flower pot is and in what direction it is, when you press the jump button, you will jump a certain distance based solely on how far you're tilted. So it's this weird precision platforming, and it's a little bit like Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy.
Yeah.
In that you're doing this precision platforming, but if you fall, you fall back to wherever you were before. So that's like all the game is at the end of the day. It's just platforming with this kind of strange jumping mechanic, and the game is getting used to just how you're jumping when you tilt the pot, and how far you're going to jump, and how high you're going to jump, and whether or not you can make the jumps onto the next couple of platforms. And there's actually 3 separate modes that you can play this game. There's a classic mode, which means that when you fall, you go to wherever you fall to, and then you have to redo everything that you had done before. The second mode was the mode that I was playing, where the dev has set up specified checkpoints within this entire world. And once you reach one of those checkpoints, if you fall, you can always reset yourself back to that last checkpoint that you just got to, so you don't have to, platform back up an hour and a half to get back to that one jump that you just failed.
Oh, shit. Okay. Okay. It's one long level.
It's one long level.
Okay.
That's why I said it's like Getting Over It, because that's you're going up, and if you fall, you're falling, and you're going to fall for a long, long time when you get late into this game. And then the third game mode, you can set your own checkpoints wherever you want. So that's like the easy baby mode, where you can just, I place a checkpoint here, I fail the jump, set back to right where I just set that checkpoint. I might have to play through the game in this mode to actually finish it, because I really feel like I'm stuck near the end of the game. I looked up a walkthrough, and I'm like 20 minutes away from the end of this game.
Okay. We're getting there, but it's really hard.
It's gotten to the point where the dev selected checkpoints are far enough apart that it's taking me like 5 minutes to get back to the jump that I keep failing, or like the set of jumps that I keep failing. And then sometimes I fail trying to get back to that part that I had already gotten to. So it's hard. It's gotten tough. But I have been having a really, really good time with it. And it was fun to stream this game. I don't know if I'll stream it again. Maybe not. We'll see. But I think this game is really cool, and it's an interesting little game. I'm glad I found it like kind of randomly, and I enjoyed it. So I am going to place this into great games. I think this is a lot of fun. And if you want like a stream rage bait kind of game where you're going to fall like in Bennett Foddy, then this is another one of those, and you're probably gonna have fun with it. And so the art style, it's all 3D. It's a 3D platformer, like I said, and this game looks great. Like, it's super stylized. So
I love checking out of it.
Yeah. It's really
cool. I've beaten Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy twice.
Oh.
So it's still in my wheelhouse. Like, I like those kind of games. So
cool.
I will check it out for sure.
Excellent. What else do you have for us?
Okay, I have another short game now. It's called Hikoban. So Yeah, like I said last week, I started my new job, so I didn't have much time to dig into deeper games like Dark Souls. I did, I did a couple, 2 episodes, last episode, but yeah. So Hikoban is a free block pusher. It's a free Sokoban type game that I found on itch.io. So when I'm on itch.io, you can follow other devs and stuff, and that gives you two types of notifications. You get notifications when they release games, but you also get notifications when they rate games. And there's a guy that I follow called, I have it really near. I'm just stalling for a couple of seconds. Bart Bonte. So Bart Bonte does a lot of mobile puzzle games. It's pretty simple puzzle games. They're color based. Last time I think I brought purple like first or second episode of the podcast. But anyway, he rates a lot of puzzle games on itch.io. So often I look at what he likes and I try them out because we have pretty much the same taste. Yeah. So he rated Hikoban, which is a Sokoban where you drag boxes instead of pushing boxes. And that's pretty much the only innovation that this game has. It looks like very 8-bit game, but even lower resolution. Like all the sprites are maybe 6x6 and stuff like that. It's really intentional, small pixel art. And I like the game. I like Sokobans, I like block pushers, and this one was smart enough to not be too long, and every level was very small. All the grid was always just like 6x6, 7x7. It was small grids with really focused puzzles, and every level had its own gimmick of like, oh, there's only 4 boxes and there's only like 10 tiles you can walk on. And if you just have to find the right order of operations to make all the boxes go on all the right squares to reach the end. And other ones were like bigger with more stuff to move around, but they were clearly divided into smaller sections and you just had to figure out in which order to do all of those sections. And it's kind of an art game to talk about in podcast form. It's
a Sokoban game.
Yeah, it's just a puzzle game where you drag boxes around. There's one thing that I really liked about this game is that once you're done with the main game, you have an extra section of 5 bonus levels. And those 5 bonus levels, I think, were the best puzzle in the games because each of those levels had a gimmick. So in one of those you could drag boxes, but you could also push boxes. In one of the puzzles, you could go through the boxes, so you could drag the box, and now you would kind of be stuck in a corner, but you could actually walk into the box and then drag it around on the other side. So since that logic only exists in that puzzle, you would sometimes just be like, what the fuck? I'm stuck. I cannot do anything. But there's an obvious solution because that new rule really changed the way that you have to look at the puzzles. And the last one was you had to control 2 characters at the same time, like doing 2 different puzzles. So you had to manage all those boxes at the same time. And that was extremely fun. I like hard Sokobans, and those one were getting there. And they were getting in the harder category. So, yeah. This game is a great base, and I think that this dev could really do a great Sokoban type of game, especially with those 5 bonus levels. I can see that he's not afraid of like breaking the rules and making weird stuff with his puzzle. So I will be keeping an eye out on this dev because that was really fun. It was free. It was maybe half an hour long, but
Awesome.
it was fine. I'm gonna put it in. This is fine. It's a fine Sokoban, and I was happy to put some time in it.
That seems fair. All right. We're going on to one of my games, right? Yeah. Okay. Next game I want to talk about is a game called Salt. I found this game on like the Steam recommendations because I had played Raft. And this is an open world survival crafting game where you are on oceans and floating around into different islands. So kind of like Raft, not quite the same. So like Raft was a lot more in like the sort of, how would I want to put it? Raft had a lot more of the like, oh, you have to make this smelter to be able to melt the iron to be able to make the whatever stuff that you need to be able to make stuff out of metal, right? This game instead is a little bit more like Minecraft, where it's like, if you have the ingredients, you can just go into a menu and add those ingredients to your crafting thing and then just make the thing.
Okay.
Which is cool. It's just a different system. This game was also made by 7 people. So it's a really, really small team. And this game's really cool. So you're a pirate and you're stranded on this island. And there's one guy on the island and he's like, well, there's this dead pirate over here. You can take whatever you want from him because I don't care. And then there's a boat over there. Go get on the boat and go wherever you need to go. And the thing that I find really interesting about this game is you have this map, and the map is laid out in a grid of it's laid out on this grid where it's basically in like 5x5 squares of like north and then to the east. So like a location might, you'll get a note and it says like, oh, you need to go to this island and it's located at 10 north and 15 east. So you can, but it doesn't mark any of that information on your map. You have to mark that island yourself on your map. And then when you make that mark, you also have to type in, like with your keyboard, why you need to go there. So like you're making notes yourself for all of the quests that you have to complete. Like you do have a quest log that says, you talk to this guy and he wants you to go to whatever place. But if you don't want to have to go back into, that quest log every time, you have to actually like physically write out these notes. So in order to find where you are, you have to have a certain item. You have to have a sextant to be able to, judge the stars. Once you have it, you just hit the button where it's equipped in your hotbar. And it'll tell you, oh, you're at this current location. And like wherever you are, however far north, however far south, east, west, it'll tell you your north-south location and your east-west location. And once you've done that, you can mark anything you want on this map. So if you find an island that has something interesting, but you don't know what you need to do with it yet, mark it on the map. Place an island down in that square on the map, make a note within the notebook on that island and say, hey, I found something here. There's this thing, but I don't have the key to be able to get into this chest, or I don't have any way to interact with whatever this object is on that island. So you always know that you can come back. And this map is huge, like absolutely fucking massive. And I don't know, like what my main quest actually is really at this point. Like I've got a few quests from a few different people that I've met, but I'm still trying to really figure this game out and figure out where I'm supposed to be going and what I'm actually supposed to be doing. But as you travel around, like there's nothing in the water that attacks you. Like in Raft, you have a shark that's constantly pestering you constantly. There's no like underwater swimming like in Raft. This is just all above ground. And you're making new stuff. There's pirates that you have to fight on a bunch of the islands that you'll find. There's pirates, and you fight the pirates. Once you kill all the pirates on an island, or it's not always just pirates, but a lot of times it's just pirates, and they like you get their loot. So you kind of have to be going to these islands to not only to get their loot, to get their money, to get their items and their weapons and everything, so that you can sell them to be able to make more money, to be able to buy items that you need to be able to, make a bigger boat, make a boat that's faster, make a boat that or buy new gear, buy new equipment, buy better armor so that you're not taking damage as much. I love this style of game. They're just so much fun for me. So I'm gonna keep digging away at this one. I've probably put like 6 hours into this, which is not much for a game like this. But I've upgraded my boat, so I'm actually sailing a little bit faster now, which is great. And yeah, it's a really cool game. It's a really minimal art style. Like all the characters are kind of goofy and blocky looking. And there's a day-night cycle in this game, and like the days are like 15 minutes long, and then the nights are like 15 minutes long. And when it's night, like it's like pitch black. You cannot see without a torch. So if you don't have a torch, you're either going to be standing around on an island all night, unable to see what you're doing, or you have to craft a torch, or you can make a campfire if you have the resources to be able to make a campfire, and then you can rest at the campfire and wait until it's morning.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm having a good time with this. I think this one is not as well known of a game. Like I haven't heard anybody talking about this one is the point that I'm getting at. And like I saw people that talk about these kind of games. So it's a cool one. And if you like survival crafting games, this is one to check out. It's also multiplayer, so I'm willing to play some multiplayer if anybody wants to play a crafting game with me.
Is it cheap? Or
yeah, it's like $7 or something.
Oh, it's fine. Cool.
Was I right about that price?
No, it's $17.
Oh, it's $17. I think I got it on sale for like $5 or $6 or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
And I played this with my friend Mike. We played it on stream one day, and then I played it a little bit more off stream and kind of figured some more stuff out, just because while we were on stream, we were kind of confused a lot of the time and not really understanding what we were supposed to be doing. So I spent a little bit more time like actually reading on my own, so that I wasn't just like sitting there on stream reading a book that was dropped by a pirate that's like 7 pages long. And like I don't want to read all of that out loud. Which actually, let me take a step back for a second. I tried to stream Ashina the Red Witch, and the amount of text that I had to read in that fucking game is part of why I don't like it.
Yeah. Because since you're streaming, you kind of oblige of going through those.
Mm-hmm.
All that text. Yeah.
But yeah, Salt's really cool. This is a great game. I'm calling it a great game right now. We'll see how I feel about it when I play it some more. But I'll definitely be playing more of this because I'm having a good time with it.
Oh, so Salt goes straight into great game, and it brings me to my last game, Trial of Kharzoid, or like I like to call it, Trial of Kharzoid, which that's what I would say in French. But yeah, the Trial of Kharzoid is a NES homebrew made by a single dude from Quebec called Pascal Bellil, I believe. And that game is what he calls an Arcanoidvania. So it's basically a Metroidvania, but the way that you go through the world is by playing single screen Arcanoid levels.
I think I've heard of a game like this before. I wonder if this is the same one that I've heard other people talk about.
When I was on IndieQuest, I brought another kind of adventure Arcanoid style of game that I forgot what it was called, but maybe
that's where I heard it before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
but it's the same idea.
Cool.
In this one, you're playing as your character. I forgot his name, but he's dead, and the evil wizard Kharzoid took over the land, and you're playing as his skull, which is the ball of the game, and you control bones around the screen. Sometimes there's only a single bone at the bottom, and the bone is your paddle. So you play some Aquanoid with a skull and a boat. And sometimes you will get multiple paddles in different tiers in the level. Sometimes they're vertical on the sides. And for each screen, you get 3 hit points to finish the level. And once you're done with the Arkanoid level, you can then move to the other screen, and you don't see the map, but you get a map to traverse like a Metroid map. So it's screen by screen by screen by screen. It's like one big Zelda dungeons. At first, I wasn't really hot on the game. I backed this game on Kickstarter, and it released just a couple of weeks ago. And the first 2-3 screens until the first village is fine. You play some Arkanoid style levels, and it's fairly easy. You can restart. Like if you die on a screen, you just restart that screen. So it's not like a huge deal. And once you get to the village, you get another power up because you can always have 2 power ups, like 2 weapons, like in the Zelda game. At first, you get the power to... What's the first? I forgot the first power. You get a power to move fast, but I forget what the first power is. So it doesn't really matter. You get a couple of power-ups, and... Oh yeah, the first power is the magnet. So whenever there's a cooldown, but you can spam that action every time the cooldown is full, where the skull will go back directly to your paddle. And once you go to the village, then you get the power to move your paddle faster, which helps. But after that village, the game gets so fucking hard for a while. Like the hour of gameplay after that first village until you get the dash power up is insane. Every screen took me like 15 tries. And the big problem is that there's too many blocks in every screen, so it gets a little boring, and sometimes you get down to the last block, but then the way that you lose hit points in this game is that some of the walls are spikes, so if you miss your head, your skull ball, if it hits a wall, it's fine, but if it hits some spikes, then you lose a hit point.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, that's not good. And yeah, so that's a big stuff that happens. But also the game is super punishing in the sense that there are no power-ups. There are only power-downs. Well, it's not true. You get a power-up where you get a second ball, but since you have so little health points and you don't want to die, you don't really care about that second ball, you don't have the time to... You're already dealing with like 3 paddles and spikes and your ball, you don't have the mental capacity of dealing with a second ball, so that doesn't really matter. And all the other power-ups are not power-ups. You get a power down where your paddle gets smaller, and that's really frustrating because often you have barely any time or no time at all to avoid it. So you just, if you hit a block that's really near your paddle, that power-up will appear. It goes straight to, because it targets your paddle. So that power-up targets your paddle, and now you have a really small paddle for the rest of the level. And for that first hour, I would just kill myself. I would just lose all my hit points if that happened, because that small paddle is so small. I hate it. There's another power down where you your movement is inverse, so left goes right and right goes left, but there's not a lot of, it's not really telling you when it's gonna change. So it really abruptly goes from left to right and right to left, and then back to left to left. And
yeah, that's not good. You really need to know when that's going to
yeah, exactly. So
be in effect and when it's going to stop.
Yeah, so I was getting a bit fed up, like doing those same screens with like 60 different blocks to break or over an hour. I was really getting fed up with the game. But then you get the dash, and then the game completely changes. Because when you dash, you're invincible for a while. So now, if you're not near your head, and it's gonna hit some spikes, you can just dash into the spikes and you don't lose any hit points. And then you also get more hit points, and the game gets way more fun because you get a lot more control over your ball, over your hit points. And when you fail a screen, it really feels like I'm the one not doing my job and not the game just being fucking hard for no reason. So yeah, that second half is so good. Like, I was having a lot of fun. I kind of forgot about that first hour once I got those good power-ups. And there's a bunch of different little secrets everywhere, so I'm not gonna go over everything. But yeah, you go from the cemetery to the village, and then you go through a forest, and then you're near the castle, and then you have to go under the castle to infiltrate the castle, and then you defeat the evil wizard. And the game is pretty smart in the sense that once you've cleared the screen, you don't ever have to play that screen ever again. So
that was going to be one of my questions.
Yeah, so once you've cleared the screen, there's a little pop-up that appears where you say, yeah, I want to go to the right. And let's say you've already done that right screen too, then you can just press start, open the pop-up, and so when you need to backtrack, it's just a matter of start left, start right, start. It's just about knowing the layout. So that's really smart. So it's not, it doesn't get boring in the end when you need to backtrack to get more power up and stuff. And yeah, there's a small spoiler. So if you really want to avoid spoilers, skip like a minute in advance. But the game has a big surprise in the end where the last boss is not an Arkanoid fight. So there are a couple of bosses throughout the game where like there's the giant and you have to hit the giant multiple times, and some are worms and stuff, like classic like Arkanoid bosses. Once you've infiltrated the castle, you get turned back into a human. And that last fight is like a Zelda 1 fight where you're walking around with a sword, and the evil wizard does the Ganondorf thing where he throws balls at you like laser balls, and then you have to hit them with your sword. And I'm kind of mixed on that. Like, it was really cool. Like, I was really surprised. I wasn't expecting that. And so as like a flashy end of the game, that was pretty cool. But on the other side, I've been doing some Arkanoid levels and getting good at Arkanoid levels for the whole game. So for the last boss to be a Zelda 1 kind of boss, it felt a bit jarring. I don't know if the game like started with like that fight as a human that you lose, and then you come back as a human at the end and you win. Maybe that would have been a better, just wrapping things around so it doesn't come out of nowhere or something like that. But it's like a minor complaint. I thought it was really cool, unexpected. And yeah, do you have any questions? It's kind of a weird game.
My only question is, you said that this is it's NES. So can this actually run on NES, or is it just made to look like an NES game?
No, it's a real NES ROM. So if you had an NES EverDrive, you could play that on your NES game. I played it through my emulator on my phone, and I bought an HDMI out for my iPhone. I thought that the iPhone couldn't do it, but it's just that you really need like the real Apple dongle because it has like an extra chip that can decode.
Okay.
The iPhone cannot output some HDMI. You need like some extra chips, and it's kind of a proprietary thing from Apple. So I bought the dongle, and now I can plug my phone onto my screen, so I could play like full screen NES game through HDMI, and
Awesome.
it looked really cool. So yeah, pile of kharzoid. I will put it into great games. A bit,
okay.
yeah.
What you were talking about, I thought you were gonna put it like into This Is Fine. Like you're a little bit hotter on it than what it was at first.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time on that first hour because like that was the first impression that I had on the game, and I didn't spend a lot of time talking about the second half because I had already explained most of what the gameplay was.
Right.
But yeah, that second half really made it up for that first hour of the game. If you can power through and get the win, get that dash ability, you will have a lot of fun for the rest of the game. It's just that like that first hour is really hard. It's really NES hard. So if like I'm not the one making the game, but I will, and like the game is only maybe 4 hours long. So as much I would personally make some of those some of those choices differently, so the game would be a little bit easier in the first half. Like the game is already short, so I feel a bit torn about that. So I think the difficulty will turn people off. So maybe it's worth it having a shorter game if the game is better in the end. But I can understand the decisions of making it too hard to like embrace that era of gaming. Oh, I don't know. I have a couple of the ideas like the power up, the power down that makes your paddle smaller. Like instead of just making the paddle smaller, I would make, because if you grab that power down a second time, you go back to your normal size. I would do it like the other way around. Like the first one that you get longer, and if you get the second one, then you go to small.
Right.
Just that little change would make it that there's like a risk reward situation, because if you get long, there's a risk. Since you're larger, it's harder to avoid that second power down that would make you smaller. I think that would be a better game design decision. But maybe that's just me. But like I like a couple of little tweaks like that could make this game like an NES banger. Maybe not a banger in terms of like games from all time, but for an NES game, I think it's really solid. That second part is really fun. And with a couple tweaks, I think it could be like a legit awesome NES game.
Awesome. All right. So the last game that I played is it's a game called Aquanauts Holiday. And I bought this because our friends over at the Classic Gaming Podcast, for their game of the quarter, are doing Aquanauts Holiday. And Rob, he had said to me that he thought that this was going to be a game that I would enjoy. Because I like playing weird games, and I like collecting for the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2, and this is a weird PS1 game. So I went out, I didn't go out. I went on eBay and I bought a complete box copy to add to the collection to see what this game is, and I did not know anything about the game going into it. I had looked at a couple of screenshots, and all I knew was that like you exist underwater in this game. That's it. That's all I knew going in.
I've just Googled Aquanauts Holiday, and I've heard Rob talk a bit about it into the in his podcast, but I don't know. It doesn't look anything like. Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting, but not that. That's for sure.
Okay, so this is at its core a first-person underwater seafloor mapping simulator.
Okay.
The primary thing that you are doing in this game is swimming around in your little submarine and just looking at the sea life around you and looking at the world under the water around you. That's basically what you're doing for the entirety of this game. Now there's a separate mechanic that I'll get into in a minute about like building this reef. And that's like the secondary objective. Well, actually it's the primary objective, but you can't do that primary objective without doing the exploration first.
Okay.
So the game manual doesn't really tell you much of what your actual goal in this game is. It basically just says like what you can do and like how you control and says go out and explore this world. So that's really what you're doing. This is just an exploration game at its core. All four of your triggers put out like what do they call it? Like sonic waves into the water. They basically are like some kind of echolocation device type thing. And like you can use them to interact with like fish and sea life under the ocean. But doing that doesn't actually do anything for you. Okay. It's a pointless mechanic. It's completely unnecessary for the game. Literally all it does is like it will allow you if you use these four triggers and you use them in like certain combinations with certain types of fish, it'll make the fish do like something cool. So like you're familiar with what an ocean sunfish looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I find an ocean sunfish under and like I do a couple buttons at it and it just starts like spinning head over tail.
Okay.
Why is it doing that? Because you echolocationed at it and now it's doing something cool. Like and that's really what this game boils down to, is like you're just looking at the things that are underwater, but none of it actually really matters. That's the weird thing. So this map is huge. I timed myself on a couple of different things to go from the northernmost part of this map all the way to the southern part of the map. It took me 15 minutes at full speed.
Wow.
And that's impressive for the PS.
That's what I was going to say. For the PS1, that sounds like a really huge game.
Now, the problem is that your field of view is so small that it's constantly popping in, especially when you're going at these high speeds. And like, it's fine, I guess. It runs at like a kind of choppy frame rate. So you're seeing like the horizon kind of just pop in constantly in front of you. I explored the entirety of the outside of this map, which is like this twisting and turning just mountain chain that goes all the way around the outside of this world. It took me an hour and a half to map out the entirety of the outside of this map. Like this world is huge, and you can find these weird things under the water, and like that's kind of just the point, is that you can find things like you can find a sunken bridge that looks like it was built as like a Roman aqueduct. You can find a pyramid that's just under the water. You can find like there's a face, like the face on Mars that
yeah.
it looks kind of like that, but it's just a rock formation under the water. I found an area that looked like Greek architecture, kind of, just like this section that looked like Greek architecture. I found this giant fucking fish, like, that just sits in this one location. And the thing is that, like, you can find this stuff, but it doesn't do anything. Doesn't add anything to the game. It's just there for you to find. But if you don't find it, it doesn't stop you from beating the game, and it doesn't help you beat the game if you do find it.
Okay. You just found it.
Yeah, you just find it, and you look at it, and you say, oh, that's cool. And then you move on, and you go and you find something else.
Awesome.
So the primary mechanic of, like, how you actually beat this game is you go into your menu, which, to get into your menu, you have to press select, and you have two different options when you press select that appear in the bottom right corner. When you press select once, you get you can put out, like, a buoy that allows you to teleport to the buoy's location from, like, the main overworld map, or you can press select again and it brings up, like, an option menu, but they don't call it options. And then you press start and it brings you into this other sub menu, and that's where you can look at, like, the total overall map, or you can go to this coral reef.
Okay.
When you go into this coral reef mechanic, you are in this like, top-down isometric view of this area, and you have there's 2 meters that are on this screen. One of them is the amount of blocks that you can place on this isometric grid, and the other one, according to the single game fact guide that's online for this, is the fish meter.
There's one.
There is one game fact from 1999, and I looked at it, and it's a page long. So the goal of this game is to build this coral reef and fill this fish meter all the way to full.
Okay.
You unlock more blocks that you can add into this coral reef by exploring the map. So the more of the map that you uncover, the more blocks that you can place in the coral reef. How you place the blocks in the coral reef, I don't think actually matters all that much. You just place them however you want. And they're not like, we'll get there.
Okay.
So when you place the blocks, they're literally just square cuboid blocks that you place. And you can place them horizontally on the isometric grid, or you can place them vertically, like one on top of one another. So you can just, like, build patterns and tunnels and stuff if you want to, but you don't have to. You can actually find this coral reef in the game world. Like, there's a big flat open space where you're actually building this coral reef, and they are literally just red, yellow, and blue cubes that you are placing onto this area that they're just calling a coral reef.
Okay.
So the more of these cubes that you place in this coral reef, the more fish that get attracted to the reef. And once enough fish have been attracted to the reef, you win the game.
Wow.
That is Aquanauts Holiday.
Oh, you've beaten.
I beat this game.
Okay.
It took me about 6.5 or 7 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. This game is like a tech demo that was sold for $60.
Wow.
It's like an experiment that is just like, can we get people to do this thing? And that's it. Like, there's not even much information, like, on YouTube about this game. Like, there's one video that I found that actually talked about this series kind of in depth. And I'm not going to shout out that video, but I'm going to shout out another video by that same creator. Let me get his name really quick. because I do want to actually.
And you say it's a franchise.
There are
I'm
4 of these games.
so confused.
Somehow there are 4 of these games. Technically, there's only 3 because there's the second game in the series is like a remaster of the first game, but it was only released in Japan and is like a slightly improved version with slightly better graphics and like frame rate and stuff like that.
Okay.
Also,
Also,
Aquanauts Holiday,
for PS2.
That was also on the PS1.
Okay.
And then
a remaster on the same console. Wow.
yes.
This was also a really, really early PS1 game. This came out in 95. The PS1 released in 1994. So this is so early in the life cycle. Like this is a game that was really pushing the limits of what the PlayStation could do at the time. And it's a really good looking game for a PS1 game, despite the pop in and everything. Like everything looks great within the game world. There's just nothing to do in that game world.
No, exactly. It's more like an interactive screensaver.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing was like, so I streamed like the first couple of hours of this game, and that first couple of hours was me like trying to figure out the systems and how they interact with one another and like piecing together the pieces and trying to figure out what I was actually supposed to do, because it's a game, like there has to be some sort of goal. Once I figured out how like the exploration tied into building within the coral reef, and then I made the assumption that ended up being correct about filling the bar for the fish at the coral reef. Once I figured all that out, and then I confirmed my assumptions about how the game functioned with that game facts walkthrough, I was like, all right, I don't think it's worthwhile for me to continue to stream this game, because all it's going to be is me swimming around and not interacting with anything. So I stopped the stream and I just watched a bunch of really long form YouTube videos while barely paying attention to what I was doing in this game. So the channel that I want to shout out is called Dungeon Chill, and it was like an hour and a half long video talking about not just Aquanauts Holiday and its sequels, but also the other games that this developer has made. And apparently they just made a bunch of weird esoteric games. Like that's their thing. They're still around these days. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but they're still making games. Aquanauts Holiday 2 was Japan exclusive, and completely got rid of this coral reef mechanic, and actually had like you actually had to like essentially like take photos or videos of the fish and of the weird things that you were finding underneath the water. And like, so it was actually a game.
What a wild idea, making a game.
I know. And then the third game was released on the PlayStation 3, also exclusively in Japan, I believe.
Okay.
And that one actually has like a story and like quests that you have to do and stuff like that. But yeah, this is just it's a weird fucking game, man. Like I don't know. Like I don't know if I can recommend anybody play this, but I also like didn't hate it. So
yeah, it was at least interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting, and like I don't regret buying it. It's not very expensive. You can get it complete in box for like $35. So, like it's not unreasonable to purchase a copy of it. And it's just this weird thing. Like you're never going to get another game like this. At least probably not. This feels like an indie game.
I checked their website. They mostly do like Japanese train simulators, it seems, and their last release was Triangle Strategy 3 years ago.
Oh yeah, they worked on that. They weren't the primary developer, but they were like brought in as a sub developer on that game.
Yeah, they help on that.
Yeah,
And they do weird train games, and then they help with like Dragon Ball.
Yeah, they've done some licensed stuff. They had like a series of RPGs back on the PS1 and PS2 also. Yeah, weird fucking company.
That's the least we can say. So, Aquanauts Holiday. Or the
I think this is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of me wants to put it into almost trash just because like it's not really a game, but at the same time, it's so like weird.
Mhm.
And I didn't hate my time with it. So I don't think it actually deserves to be put back into the trash can. But I also don't think anybody else should really waste their time with it either. Unless what I've said sounds interesting, then yeah, go ahead and check it out. Maybe don't beat it.
Yeah. I don't think I will check it out. I think I had my fill by just looking at it on YouTube.
Okay. I will. I'll send you, Max, that video about
yeah.
Aquanauts Holiday because I do think the video itself was actually quite interesting, and I watched it while playing the game, so that was fun.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
All right, that is all of our video games for today.
Yeah. Yeah. This is fine, Evie. Mostly because of me this time around.
Yeah.
But yeah, we still have Thief Simulator into the banger tiers and a couple of great games. So we enjoy games. We don't just
we dig around in the trash, but
that's the beauty of trying to find hidden gems. Like a lot of it won't be that cool, but when you find something that you really like, man, those games,
better.
They stick with you.
They sure do. All right, let's move into hobby time. Max, I got nothing. I did no hobby. I played video games. I watched anime, and like that's been my last 2 weeks. I've done nothing hobby related at all. I have plants growing. Like I have seeds that are like still doing their thing, but like I can't transfer them out of like the seed starter yet. So like
that's all fine.
Yeah. What have you worked on?
Yeah, I did not do much because like I said like a billion times, I started a new job and that was really exhausting. Man, I went to bed.
How's that going, by the way?
It's going fun. It's going great.
Excellent.
It's a startup, so there's a lot of processes and stuff to still figure out. So that's been interesting because I've always been in like pretty mature companies before. So that's pretty fun. But man, that first week, so many new informations and stuff. I went to bed at like 8:30. I was so tired for the whole week. But this week is getting better. I'm getting in the groove. Still a lot to learn because it's all like mining related. So it's a lot of very specific information that you can only know by being in the company. So I still have a lot to learn, but it's been fun. I still found a couple of time to do two things. The first thing I did is that I've worked a bit on my series for Lotto Quebec, where I talk about weird and old gaming stuff related to Quebec, the province. And I wanted to do a new intro because the way that my intro went in my first season is that I would film. So the show is called In My Floppy, basically in French, but it's In My Floppy. So the gist of it is that all the information that I find, I present it like it's something I found into a floppy disk that was laying around, and check what I found into my floppy.
Right.
And so I would put the floppy on my mechanical keyboard and just like film that with like a pan zoom, like trying to be cinematic. But the problem is that I don't have the equipment to do a great traveling with my camera. So it was always kind of shaky. And when I put like the Premiere Pro a stabilization filter, but that made that like the floppy would get deformed in all the it just felt weird. It didn't feel it didn't seem like super professional. So for my second season, I decided that I would go more like 3D oriented. So what I did is that I divided my intro. It's just a couple seconds, but I divided my intro into 2 sections. In the first section, you get snippets from the first season. It's like an old TV effect of overlaying footage from like the 90s, going left and right.
Looks like something that would have been on PBS.
Yeah, exactly. That was the vibe I was going for. So you get snippets from the first season, and then there's like a burst of light, and then the floppy of the episodes comes in 3D rotating, and you see the title of the episode on that floppy. And for the first season, I had like physical floppies that like 6 different colors that I would just write on it. But for the second season, I want to make those floppies in Photoshop, and each floppy will have a color and a pattern that will match the topic that I'm talking about for that episode. And then I will print them out and put them on some foam, so I still have like a physical floppy for when I film, but the floppy in itself won't be a real floppy. It will be something that I make on Photoshop. And yeah, so there's a burst of light, the floppy appears, it turns in 3D, and in the background there's some footage that relates to the episode. And on top of that, I found a software called Shader Glass where you can run a shader over your entire screen. So you could just be doing anything on your computer and have like a CRT filter over it, some pixelization, and there's like hundreds of filters and shaders that you could put on your screen. And there's other options, like you can skip frames, reduce the resolution, so you can really make it feel like you're playing like on the N64 with only 12 frames a second by having this over the whole screen. I did some tests by putting Dark Souls with like the lowest resolution and every graphical options to the minimum and having that over with skipping frames, and it felt like playing an early PS2 game. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, I found a CRT filter that I liked, and I made, once I've rendered my intro, I then replay it through that CRT filter. So now the intro really feels like something out from the 90s from TBS. And you've seen it. What did you think of it?
I liked it. It's good.
Yeah. Thanks. So yeah, I went to bed way too late this week because I was inspired and I wanted to finish that video editing. But I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm gonna go with that style of intro for my second season.
Nice.
And for my second hobby, I went on Amazon this week and I decided to find all the weirdest gaming controllers I could find on Amazon. And you've seen two of them that I posted on Discord. One of them, it's still available right now. It's half a touchpad and half a gaming controller. So there's a joystick, there's a D-pad, and then there's a big touchpad. And from what I've seen, it's supposed to be a good controllers to play FPS. So you can move your character with the joystick, but then you can control the camera with a touchpad. So it should be more precise than playing with 2 joysticks. Maybe. I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah. There's one that's like a little keyboard with a joystick.
Oh,
I don't know what that thing is, but it looks crazy.
That looks like it's like
just WASD and like the couple other keys that you would need around without being the full keyboard.
Yeah, but there's also a joystick. So like, what the fuck? It's so weird.
Wild.
Yeah. And I found this thing that's like just a button and a joystick that you can clamp onto your phone, I guess. So you could move with the joystick and then move the camera if you were playing like PUBG. So you could move the camera with your thumb using the touchscreen, but also move the character with the joystick. I don't know.
Weird.
And there's this arcade setup. So it's an arcade joystick with buttons, and you can mount your phone onto it so you can play arcade games. So I don't know. I've had a fascination with weird controllers, and right now I have like $600 Canadian dollars, but I have $600 of controllers in my cart, and I think I may just order some of those throughout the year and just try them out because it sounds fun.
Right.
And so, maybe in the future episodes I will be able to give you some updates on weird controllers.
Yeah, so like I kind of have this fascination with like weird retro controllers also. Like I have the N64 Boomerang controller, which I don't know if you've ever seen that before.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that like a couple of times. It's wild.
Yeah, it's actually really good. I actually really like that controller.
Oh yeah, for real.
Games. Yeah, it's good because it has a Z trigger on both sides, so you can use either one. And then I have the there's a Genesis controller that's called like the 360 something.
Oh, it
has a touchpad instead of a D-pad for the movement on the Sega Genesis, and it's awful. It's the worst.
Oh yeah, that yellow thing. Yeah. Okay. Do you have the PS1 twisty thing to
No, those are a little too expensive. I haven't had the money for one of those yet. I think they're kind of expensive.
Yeah, I think so. Especially I think a couple of YouTubers did videos on them, so
let's see if I can find one online for sale.
And yeah, while we're talking about controllers, I have now 2 kind of holy grails of controllers that I'm trying to find. The first one is the iGugu Gamecore, which is the weirdest control. It's like a 360 controller, but instead of face button on the right, it's a trackball. So, like, it's weird because, sure, if you had trackball instead of a second joystick, that could have kind of make sense, but now it replaces the face button, so you don't have any face buttons. You just have a joystick, a trackball, and a D-pad. Like, what the fuck? And there's also like the 360 keyboard at the bottom, and it also has like the motion detection and stuff. So it released in like 2013, and it tried to do like the Steam big mode before that existed. That was like the selling point where you could launch all your games in one interface and your controller would fit with everything. When with the trackball that would emulate the mouse control for FPS and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it once on eBay, and that's when I decided to start looking for it on eBay, and I found one like 3 months later. It wasn't really long, but it was in a really bad shape. It was like, it looked sticky and stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna like $80 for that controller, and it's not even in a good state. I'm gonna pass on that one. And it's been like over 2 years, and I've not seen any other one. So I'm beating myself up for not getting that controller. And basically, I found about that controller right before it released, forgot about it, so I didn't buy it when it was available. And right now, I'm still looking for it. And now,
I found these twist controllers. It's called the Namco Negcon, Negcon. I can buy 2 of them right now for $72, which is not terrible.
No, it's not too bad.
Like, that's a little bit more than I maybe want to pay for 2 novelty controllers that I'm probably going to use once, but I don't know. We'll see. I might end up with one of these in my life.
Nice. And now my second holy grail is a controller that I just found out when I was doing my Amazon search. And it's, you know, those tiny like keyboard controllers that you can buy for your PC where it's just like a little touchpad and a keyboard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
So one company in 2018 released that, but on top of the keyboard and the touchpad, there's also 2 joysticks and face buttons. So it's like a gaming controller mounted onto one of those little keyboards, like thumb keyboards.
Okay.
And even though it released in 2018, and I've seen a couple of YouTube videos of people like reviewing it and it being on Amazon and stuff, there's not a single one available anywhere right now. Well, it's not true. I think there's a couple of ones like in Philippines and random Asian countries, but like for the US, the Canada, like the Eastern world, there's not a single one available. And I don't know, that's my new obsession. I want that thing. It looks interesting. It looks fun. I want to try it out. It released 7 years ago, and somehow it's not available anymore. It's so wild to me. That thing exists somewhere, and I don't know where.
You'll get one day.
I hope so. So yeah,
Right.
That's my new obsession. So maybe I will bring those new controllers to the show once I start.
This is a relatable obsession for me, so I get it.
But yeah, that's all for my hobbies this week.
All right. Loot box. All right, so I have 2 videos that I wanted to bring today. The first one is a short video, actually. It's called I Made a Pentomino Tetris to Prove That It Sucks. Max, did you watch this when I sent it to you?
I saw it before you sent it to me. So
okay.
I put that in my recommendation and I did watch it. Yeah.
Okay, so this guy's a real small YouTuber. He does not have a whole lot of followers. Like, this must have just been being recommended to everybody. This was just a fun, like, 6-minute long video of him making a version of Tetris that plays with 5 block square or pieces instead of 4 blocks pieces like Tetris. And one of the later versions of Tetris, I don't remember which one, had like a mix of 4 and 5 block pieces, and it's not very good. And his version also does not look great.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Tetris is just perfect the way that it was and always will be.
Yep. Something that I found a bit weird with this video is that it ends kind of abruptly. Like, he developed his game and stuff. He starts playing with the game a little bit, and he goes on to tell more stuff about like the concept of the game, but then doesn't go back to play the game more. I was like, yeah, I would have taken like 2 more minutes of you like picking your game. It looked at least interesting. Show it more. But
Right.
other than that, yeah, it's a great video.
Yeah, it was a good time. And then the second video that I want to shout out was oh god, I did not say who this. I didn't put it in our sheet. I am failing. That was from tEEvy Games, TEEvy GAMEZ. So tEEvy Games. Yeah, that's my bad for not putting it on the sheet there. And then my second video is from Dungeon Chill. This is the guy that I found from looking up Aquanauts Holiday on YouTube.
Yeah.
But the video that I want to shout out from him is the Mysterious Serial Experiments Lain PS1 game. Now, Max, are you familiar with Serial Experiments Lain?
No.
Okay. Lain is like this weird outlier of late 90s anime where like it's quite possibly one of the most influential anime that's been made, but it's also like the weird stepchild that most people who aren't like super deep into anime already like most people don't know about this. Like if you're that's why it doesn't surprise me. But like this is around the same time as like Bebop and Evangelion and like Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, like some of the best anime that's ever been made. Serial Experiments Lain is this weird fucking anime. We could yeah. So this video is about it's both about the anime and about the video game because the video game was only released in Japan, and the whole concept of Lain was that it was supposed to be like this multimedia experience. So like the game also tells part of the story, the anime tells part of the story, there's like comics that tell part of the story, and like they're all separated, but they're all connected in weird ways also. And I've known that this game exists. And this guy, Dungeon Chill, I've been watching a bunch of his videos over the last week or so. And he apparently lives in Japan. So he speaks Japanese, so he can play the weird Japanese games that we can't play over here in the West. And then he's able to talk about them and, you know, kind of explain things that would have made sense to somebody who was living in Japan in the 90s. And like the weird cultural things that would be very specific to that period of time in Japan. So very cool. This is a great video. I absolutely loved it. You should check out Dungeon Chill for sure.
Cool. That sounds really interesting. I will surely give it a watch. On my side, I have two minor shoutouts. The first one is that Salt Mine, the guy you brought? I think
Salt Factory.
Episodes. Salt Factory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Salt Factory, I did check him out when I started working. I put that in the background. So I listened to the 2 videos he did on Fallout 4, and that, yeah, you were right. That was really cool, especially as a like background noise. That was like perfect, and I get. As someone who's not familiar with Fallout and everything, it was quite revealing. And even not just Fallout, like the way that he dove into like all the fake choices that Fallout 4 gives, where you have some
dialogue options that don't actually matter.
Yeah, all the dialogue, most of the dialogues don't matter. You will get to the same point, even the ones that require persuasion check doesn't matter. You just get a bit of XP, but it's the same thing result in the end. That was wild to me. Like knowing that, it kind of changes the experience because it recontextualized everything that they've experienced. Like here where when I was like, yeah, I won't do a check because I don't want to lose that option or anything like that. Didn't fucking matter.
Nope.
It's all the same story. So yeah, that's really wild to me.
Let me take a brief aside here. That's what's great about Fallout New Vegas is those things actually matter. Those choices that you make actually matter. you can be cut out of storylines in Fallout New Vegas because of the choices that you make. Yeah, that's why that game is good.
Exactly. I absolutely agree. And yeah, it's still something that if you don't go on YouTube and you just like play through Fallout 4 once, that you will never
You would never know.
Yeah. But knowing it really changes what I think about the game. And the other minor shout out that I want to give is really dumb. So earlier today, I wanted to put some background music while I was working, and one of the options that was given to me on my front page was by a guy called Jelly Reggie. Doesn't really matter. The video is called Relaxing GameCube Music, between parentheses, not clickbait. Most clicked it because, like, what the fuck? What do you mean not clickbait? It's just GameCube music. And I scrolled through the comments. All the comments are about them getting clickbait by the not clickbait. And the fact that it implies the existence of a relaxing GameCube music clickbait video somewhere on YouTube. I just want to shout it out because it's so fucking dumb. That's perfect.
He's getting views on it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a 1-year-old video. But so yeah. My actual shoutouts are a video by TESTMACARONI called I Turned Modern SpongeBob into Season 1. So the guy took one scene from a modern SpongeBob episode, I think from the last season, and he painted on actual acetate like they would have done in the 90s and early 2000s for the first seasons of SpongeBob. And he actually went ahead and painted in the same style of those episodes. He got people that do already some voice impressions of the characters on YouTube. He managed to reach out to them to voice the show so it sounds like the real characters, and he animated that whole scene like if it was an old SpongeBob episode, and the result was pretty amazing. Yeah. And yeah, it was a great project, and the turned out really good. So yeah, I wanted to shout him out. I don't know. Does he have? I think this video must have like popped off, but I don't know if he has many subscribers. He has only 31 subscribers, but that video did 1.7 million views. So
okay,
yeah, it really popped off. And now I lost my tab. Yeah.
Oh no.
And my second shout out is Jaden Salads, and the video is who made the Xbox 720. It's a video about if you hover over the video, you will see the image. It's like the hoax image of like a spherical Xbox 720 that most of us must have seen in the early 2000s. And the dude does a deep dive into old forums, old articles, trying to find the source of this image. And even though if I'm gonna spoil it, it wasn't even a render for the Xbox 720. It was a mock-up for the Xbox 360. It was much older than a 720 thing that most people associate this image with. And I thought the whole endeavor was pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I still think they should have called the Xbox 720 the Xbox 720 instead of whatever the fuck they called the Xbox, because Xbox One and S and Series and all that, I don't know what any of those are.
Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, I haven't followed the Xbox much after the Xbox 360, and like I know basically nothing about it.
No, I don't know which one is this generation and which one is last generation. And like, I play video games and listen to video game content all the time.
And if they had continued with that naming convention, right now it would be the Xbox 1080.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that would be more than fine. It sounds like a great name for a console.
Yeah.
And it sounds obvious that it would be one step further than 720. So yeah.
Well, they're 2-step. Oh, yeah, you're right. 1080.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Excellent fucking recommendations this time around. I'm going to watch both of those videos after we get done here today.
Awesome.
All right. Let's go to emails. And we have one email from Robert Ring. And he said,
The one and only, the GOAT.
The one and only Robert. Last episode, Max mentioned how his Game Boy Color is in dire condition, and one of the problems, he said, is it's missing its battery cover.
Yep.
I have a question that sounds judgmental. I'm honestly not judging at all. I'm genuinely curious. How does one lose just the battery cover to a Game Boy? I've also seen Game Boys listed on eBay for discounts because they are missing their battery cover, and I've always wondered how that happens. The only scenario I can think of is you're playing the Game Boy, the battery cover falls off, and for some reason you think to yourself, oh, I'll just pick that up later. And then you forget, and eventually it disappears. I suspect that's not exactly what happens, or not actually what happens, because you have to be psychotic to not put it back around right away. So Max, how does it actually happen?
I have a couple of ideas of what might have happened.
Okay.
The first one is pretty straightforward. Maybe the pin just broke because it's kind of a little spring.
Yeah.
Like it's like a spring is plastic that keeps it in place. If somehow you I was 8 years old. You have to remember I was a kid, so maybe I just put it out too hard, it broke, and then it wouldn't stay on, and somehow it fell off, and I lost it. Because anyway, it wasn't staying on anyway. So maybe that's what happened. I second theory on what might have happened. I had three. I had three good ideas because I thought about it, Robert, because it sounded judgmental. Oh, damn it. I don't remember my second theory, but my third theory was that maybe that. Oh, yeah, I have it. So, my second theory was that maybe I wanted to play with like Legos and stuff, and I needed like a shield for my little Lego characters, and I took the back cover of my Game Boy to use like as a shield or as a plastic piece for another game. Maybe I just wanted to put stuff in my Beyblade Arena, and I just threw the back cover of my Game Boy battery because it's just a great piece of plastic, and I just never put it back, and it got lost into the bin of plastic stuff. So that's my second theory. Maybe I was just dumb and used it for something else that it wasn't supposed to be for. And my last theory was that I was fucking 8 years old. And when you're 8 years old, you don't care about your stuff. You're just throwing stuff around everywhere. You throw stuff into boxes. I remember one time I was like, man, my GameCube boxes take way too much space. So I would just put all my disc into a disc ring, and then I can cut out all my game covers to make a great poster for my wall. That's something that I did because I was a fucking dumb 8 and 10-year-old. So,
you want to know what we did? We played with our first edition Pokemon cards on the sidewalk without sleeves.
Exactly. Kids don't care about stuff. If it get lost, it get lost. And also, I wasn't just an 8-year-old. I have 5 younger siblings. So the possibility that just one of my younger siblings took it out to just play a prank on me or took it out for any other reason because they lost their own back cover and they decided to use mine for their Game Boy is also a possibility, you know? So as an adult, maybe it sounds strange, but as a kid, it doesn't seem like too far-fetched. It's just like a piece of plastic that isn't really attached to the Game Boy. It can always fall off and...
I remember really enjoying just like taking it off and putting it back on and taking it off and putting it back on because that spring is just fun to fuck with.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you do that with like a remote controller. You're in the... You're in your room just watching the TV and just fucking with the controller, and that's something that I surely did with my Game Boy also. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I have a Game Boy Advance that does not have its battery cover on it. It's not the Game Boy Advance from when I was a kid, but it's a Game Boy Advance that I have. And then I bought a Neo Geo Pocket Color without the battery cover on it.
Yeah.
And that's just because I was able to get it for like $30 off because it didn't have the battery cover and it was a little beat up. Like it's silver, you know. But like the paint's chipped away in some places, and the screen is like has got like a little scratch in the corner. So I was able to get it for pretty cheap. I was like, I don't fucking care. Like I'm gonna buy like 5 Neo Geo games and that's it. And then I only have the one because the Pocket Color games fucking shot up in price during COVID, and I'm not spending $100 on like what's the fucking Metal Slug?
Yeah,
like no, I'm not. That's just not happening.
it's not worth it.
Oh.
Oh, I hope you like our answers,
Yeah.
Robert. And if you have any theories, don't mind sending them to me, even if it involves aliens or anything. Like, if you have a better theory, I'm all ears. But that's what I
Could have been aliens. Little Grandman came through the door and took that battery cover. He needed it as part of his spaceship. It was Captain Olimar.
Yeah, exactly. I want to leave. Awesome. Thanks again, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. We would also like to thank Heath Aldrich for our intro and outro music. You can find a link to all of his music on his Bandcamp page at heathaldrich.bandcamp.com.
And we would also like to thank RainbowSavvyDesigns for our logo. Links to both of their works will be available in the show notes.
And you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/scotchandhobbies. I stream normally every Monday and Wednesday around 5 or 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can also find me on social media at Scotch and Hobbies.
Yeah, and I'm mostly on Blue Sky at Potomax. And if you want to play some of my games, you can check my itch.io page at itch.io/Potomax. And if you speak French, I have a ton of videos on the good old YouTube at youtube.com/Jubière.
And you can find the show on Blue Sky at Trashstation.
Yeah. Trashstation everywhere.
Yes.
Trashstation or the Trashstation. By one of those, you will find us.
Yeah, we're the raccoons. There's nobody else calling themselves trash.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Max.